I'm 72 years old, and I just watched my own son try to steal the house I built with my bare hands. What happened next will shock you. But first, you need to understand how we got here. Before we dive in, if you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted completely, someone who was supposed to love you no matter what, then hit that subscribe button. This story's for you. And please, drop a comment below. I want to hear from you. My name is Harold Brenner, and I live at the end of Maple Ridge in a house that cost me 45 years of my life to build. Not just the money. I'm talking about the time, the dreams, the sweat that soaked through my shirt on summer nights when I was framing the roof, the paint I scraped from my hands for weeks after finishing the nursery. Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. We're so glad you're here with us. Warm welcome to the family. Enjoy the story. When Martha, that was my wife, when she and I bought this land back in 1980, we had almost nothing. We were young, broke, and crazy in love. That's all we needed. I worked double shifts at the factory. Came home with splinters in my palms and grease under my fingernails. But somehow, I still found the energy to pick up a hammer, to measure twice and cut once, to build something that would last. This house wasn't just a place to live. It was proof that a man could work hard and create something real. Something that meant something. Our son, Lucas, was born in that nursery I painted myself. I remember the smell of the paint, how my hands shook a little when I held him for the first time. Martha used to say Lucas had my stubbornness but her gentle heart. She was right about that. As a kid, he'd bring home stray cats and dogs. He'd give his lunch to kids who didn't have money. He'd ask me how I could help people, what it meant to be good. I thought that meant he'd grow up to be kind. I didn't know that kindness dies when entitlement moves in. Martha passed away 5 years ago. Cancer. The kind that doesn't give you time to negotiate or make deals with God. One day you're planning next summer's garden. The next day you're picking out a casket. After she died, this house became both everything and nothing to me. Every room echoed with her voice. Every corner held a memory I couldn't escape. Lucas stopped visiting. He was busy with work, he'd say. His wife, Sabrina, wasn't feeling well. I didn't push. I understood that grief hits people different ways. But some nights I'd sit by the fire in this house I built, staring at the empty chair across from me, wondering if my own son even thought about me at all. Then, out of nowhere, Lucas called. His voice was different, smoother, like he'd practiced what he was going to say. "Dad," he said, "it's been too long. How about we spend Christmas together? Just like the old days. You, me, Sabrina. We could make some real memories." I remember smiling into the phone. I actually smiled. I told him yes. I told him I couldn't wait. I told him it would mean the world to have my family back under my roof. But looking back now, I realized that phone call was the start of something I never saw coming. And when I finally figured out what they were planning, everything changed. So what exactly did Lucas and Sabrina want? What was so important that they'd deceive an old man who just wanted his son back? Find out in the next chapter. They arrived a week before Christmas in a new car I'd never seen before. Sabrina stepped out first in a coat that probably cost more than I made in a month. Designer sunglasses, even though it was already getting dark. Lucas followed behind her, carrying boxes like he already owned the place. When he saw me on the porch, he spread his arms wide. "Dad," he said, "we missed you." He said it so easy, so smooth, like it wasn't a lie wrapped up in a rehearsed smile. The moment Sabrina walked through my front door, I felt something shift. It wasn't anything she said. It was the way her eyes moved across the room, like she was doing an inventory. Like she was pricing everything in her head. She ran her fingers across the couch Martha had picked out 15 years ago, the one we'd saved for. She looked at our family photos on the wall like they were trash somebody left behind. "It's cozy," she said. Just that one word. But the way she said it made my stomach turn. Over the next few days, small things started happening. My favorite armchair, the one I'd sat in every morning to read the paper, it moved. Just moved. Into a different corner. When I asked Lucas about it, he said Sabrina wanted to open up the space. Open up the space? This was my space. Then came the garage. I kept my tools there. Things I'd collected over 50 years. A hand saw my father gave me. Hammers with worn handles that fit my palm just right. Nails sorted by size in old coffee cans. One afternoon, I went out there and found everything reorganized. Sabrina had hired someone to clean it up, Lucas said. They'd thrown out half my stuff. I stood there in my own garage, staring at the empty shelves, and something inside me went cold. That's when the phone calls started. Sabrina making appointments. I'd overhear her on the phone, talking about renovation estimates and accessibility upgrades. Her voice would get sweet and mechanical, like she was reading from a script. Yes, he's elderly. Yes, he has mobility concerns. We're thinking about completely remodeling the main floor. I didn't have mobility concerns. I could walk fine. I could climb stairs. But nobody asked me about that. When I finally asked Lucas directly what was going on, he laughed. Actually laughed. Like I'd made a joke. "Dad, you need to trust us," he said. "We're just trying to help. You can't manage this place alone forever. You're getting older. Sabrina and I, we're thinking about what's best for you." What's best for you? That's what they said. Those words hit harder than any punch. Because what he was really saying was that I didn't get to decide anymore. My opinion didn't matter. My home wasn't mine to keep. I was becoming invisible in the one place I'd built with my own two hands. Martha used to have this saying. She'd say, "Harold, the quiet ones are always the most dangerous. They don't announce what they're doing. They just do it." I was starting to understand what she meant. 3 days before Christmas Eve, I went to bed early. Or at least, that's what Lucas and Sabrina thought. The house was quiet. The only light came from the living room fireplace and the Christmas tree we'd decorated together that afternoon. I was lying upstairs, thinking about Martha, thinking about how empty this house had become even with people in it. Then I heard them. The clink of glasses. Laughter that sounded like they were celebrating something. I got up and moved to the hallway. Quiet steps. I didn't want them to know I was listening. What I heard next would change everything. I stood at the edge of the kitchen doorway, close enough to hear them, far enough away that they wouldn't see me. The fireplace was glowing. The tree lights flickered red and green. It looked like Christmas. It felt like a lie. Sabrina's voice came first. Soft, but with an edge to it that I'd never heard before. "Just wait until after Christmas," she whispered. "He'll sign whatever we put in front of him. He's lonely, vulnerable. He wants to believe we're here because we love him." I felt my chest tighten. Lucas's response came next. "And then what? Once the deed's in our name, we move him into that care facility you mentioned. The Sunny Meadows place. It's nice. Safe. He won't even see it coming. He'll be gone before he realizes what happened." My hands went numb. Lucas laughed. Not the laugh of a son. The laugh of someone who'd just heard a good business plan. It was the same laugh he used when we went camping together when he was 12. The same laugh when he told me he loved me. But it was wrong now. Hollow. "After New Year's," he said. "We'll make it sound like it's for his safety. His heart, his memory. We'll get his doctor to back us up on it. He'll think it's his idea. He'll probably thank us for it. Sabrina laughed too. By summer, we can list this place. Location like this, updated kitchen, new floors? We're talking 700 grand easy. Maybe more. 700 grand. They weren't just planning to throw me out. They were planning to steal from me. To take the one thing that mattered, cash it in, and put me away somewhere I could forget I'd ever had anything at all. I didn't move. I couldn't move. My body felt like it wasn't mine anymore. Like I was watching this happen to somebody else. Like I was already a ghost in my own home. I went back upstairs without making a sound. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at my desk and stared at the wall, my mind running in circles. My son. My own blood. He was planning to erase me. I sat there for hours, feeling like the life I'd built was crumbling. And then, around 3 in the morning, I remembered something. Something Martha had told me years ago. Martha was sick. Stage 4. The doctors had already told us there was nothing they could do. We were sitting in our bedroom, the one we'd shared for 40 years, and she was still thinking about me. Even dying, she was still thinking about what would happen to me. "Harold," she said, and her voice was so clear, so present, even though the cancer was eating her alive. "I need you to promise me something." "Anything," I said. "Don't let sentiment blind you again. Don't let love make you stupid." I didn't understand what she meant at the time. But she was already 3 steps ahead of me, like always. 2 months before Christmas, while Martha was still able to walk, we'd gone to see our lawyer. Her name was Catherine. Good woman. Smart woman. Martha had an idea, and she wanted to make it happen before she ran out of time. We set up a living trust. We created something called the Brenner Family Foundation, a charitable fund that Martha had always dreamed about. But here's the important part. The house didn't go to Lucas. It didn't go to me in a way that could be taken away. It went into the trust. And I was the trustee. I had the right to live in the home for my entire life, no matter what. No one, not a judge, not a lawyer, not my own son, could override it, could take it, could touch it. Martha had seen the storm coming. She'd felt it in her bones. She'd prepared for it. I sat at my desk in the dark, 45 years of memories surrounding me, and I opened the folder where those documents had been sitting for months. I read every word, every clause, every protection Martha had built for me, even from beyond death. She'd been right. She was always right. They thought they were dealing with an old man who didn't understand the modern world. An old man who'd be grateful for any attention, any company. An old man they could manipulate with false affection and careful words. They had no idea what Martha had set up. They had no idea that the papers they planned to put in front of me on Christmas morning wouldn't matter. Couldn't matter. The house wasn't theirs to take. It was already safe. I closed the folder and sat back in my chair. My heart was still breaking. My son was still a stranger. But something else was happening too. Something Martha had left for me. Clarity. Christmas morning came, and it was the quietest Christmas I'd ever experienced. No laughter. No real joy. Just the 3 of us, pretending to be a family while the truth hung in the air like cigarette smoke nobody wanted to acknowledge. Sabrina gave me a sweater. Nice sweater. Probably $500. A gift you give to someone you're about to betray, so you can tell yourself you cared. Lucas gave me an envelope. He handed it to me with that same rehearsed smile. "Something we want you to look over, Dad," he said. "For you. For your future." I opened the envelope. Inside was a property transfer form. A deed. Everything lined up perfectly for me to sign my house over to them. They'd even included a care facility brochure. Sunny Meadows Assisted Living. Pictures of happy old people playing checkers. Like that was supposed to make me want to go. The audacity of it almost made me laugh. Almost. I looked at that paper. Then I looked at my son's face. At Sabrina's face, waiting to see if I'd do it. Waiting to see if I'd make it easy for them. You should have talked to me first, I said quietly, before making plans for my house. Lucas's smile faltered. Dad, this is what's best for. What's best, I interrupted, is remembering who built this roof over your head. Remembering where you came from. Sabrina's voice turned sharp, cold. The mask slipped for just a second. You can't live here forever, Harold. You're not getting any younger. She was right about one thing. I wasn't getting any younger. But neither was time running out for me. It was running out for them. I folded the property transfer neatly. Slowly. I made them watch me do it. Then I slid it back into the envelope and placed it on the mantel, right next to Martha's photo in her favorite frame. You're right, I said. Forever's a long time. And not everyone's invited to stay that long. Sabrina's jaw tightened. Lucas looked confused, like he didn't understand what had just happened. Like he thought the script was supposed to go differently. They left that night. Didn't stay for dinner. Didn't hug me goodbye. Just packed their bags and drove off in that expensive car, angry and frustrated because their plan hadn't worked. I stood on the porch and watched them go, and I realized something. They'd never asked about the deed. They'd never asked about the trust. They just assumed that an old man with an empty house and a lonely heart would be easy to handle. They'd underestimated what happens when you back a man into a corner. When you show him exactly how little his love is worth to you. The next morning, I started making phone calls. I contacted my lawyer. I contacted the local authorities. I made sure everything was documented. Everything was legal. Everything was protected. And when Lucas and Sabrina came back that following weekend, thinking they could try again, thinking maybe I'd reconsider over those few days alone, they found something waiting for them. A sign. On my front lawn. Where everyone could see it. The morning I had that sign installed, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Not anger. Not revenge. Something cleaner than that. Purpose. I called the sign company at 8 in the morning. I told them exactly what I wanted. They thought I was joking at first. A 72-year-old man putting up a legal notice on his own property? But I had the documents. I had the paperwork. Everything was legitimate. Everything was backed by law. By noon, they were hammering it into the frozen ground at the end of my driveway. Big letters. Black on white. Impossible to miss. Property of the Brenner Family Foundation. Managed under trust. Trespassers will be prosecuted. I stood on the porch and watched it go up. Martha would have approved. She always said you don't whisper when the whole world needs to hear you. I spent the rest of that day making copies of the trust documents. Real copies. Notarized. Sealed. Legal. I made them neat and organized because that's the kind of man I am. I've never been one for drama, but sometimes drama is what people need to understand that you're serious. That weekend came, and I watched from the porch window as Lucas's car pulled up the driveway. The first thing he saw was the sign. He stopped the car. Just stopped it right there in the middle of the drive. I could see him through the windshield, reading those words over and over like maybe they'd change if he looked at them long enough. Sabrina got out first. Her face went pale. Then red. Then something worse. Cold. Calculated. Lucas walked up to the front door like a man walking through water. His hand was shaking when he knocked. I waited a full minute before I opened it. Not to be cruel. Just to let him feel the weight of what was happening. "Dad," he said. "What the hell is this?" His voice cracked on that last word. That's when I knew he finally understood. This wasn't a bluff. This wasn't negotiation. This was a man who'd built a house and decided to keep it. I handed him the folder, the legal documents, everything Martha had set up, everything that protected me and made sure his plan would never work. I watched his face as he read, watched him flip through page after page, looking for something, anything that would give him a way in, a loophole, a weakness. There wasn't one. Sabrina came up behind him and read over his shoulder. Her jaw got tighter and tighter as she realized the truth. The house wasn't going anywhere. Not to her. Not to Lucas. Not to anybody. You did this out of spite, she said. Her voice was like ice. I looked at her. Really looked at her. And then I looked at my son. No, I said quietly. I did this out of love. For your mother. For the man I used to believe you could be. Lucas opened his mouth. Nothing came out. What could he say? That I was wrong. That they hadn't planned to steal from me? That they hadn't lied and manipulated and treated me like I was already dead? Sabrina grabbed his arm. Come on, she said. We have a lawyer to call. But there was no lawyer that could help them. Not anymore. Martha had made sure of that. They drove off without another word. I stood on my porch and watched their car disappear down the street, and I realized something strange was happening inside me. I wasn't feeling victorious. I was feeling something closer to sadness. Because I'd won, but I'd lost. I'd saved my house, but I'd lost my son. 3 weeks passed. 3 weeks of silence. I walked through this house. My house, the one I'd spent 45 years building, and the quiet felt different now. Not lonely. Not exactly. Just quieter. Like it was waiting for something. Like it was holding its breath. The sign out front did its job. People drove by and read it. Some would slow down. A few actually stopped to take pictures, I noticed. Word got around the neighborhood. That old man on Maple Ridge? His son tried to steal his house. His lawyer caught them. That's not how it happened, but I didn't correct anybody. Let them talk. Let them understand that there are consequences when you betray someone's trust. I started spending more time in Martha's garden. She'd loved flowers, roses especially. I'd let it go to seed after she died. Weeds had taken over. But now I was pulling them out, one by one, getting the soil ready for spring planting. It felt like I was doing something for her. Like I was honoring what she'd built, even if it was just a garden. I contacted the lawyer again. Catherine. She walked me through the next steps. The trust was solid. Airtight. Lucas could come back with lawyers of his own, and he still wouldn't be able to touch this place. Martha had seen to that. But Catherine also mentioned something I hadn't thought about. The foundation. Martha's dream. The one we'd set up but never really activated. She'd wanted to help people. People who were in the situation I'd been in. Old, alone, vulnerable to being taken advantage of. So I started working on that. I set up meetings with social workers, lawyers, people who worked with elderly folks who needed protection. We created a program through the foundation to help people set up living trusts, to make sure their assets couldn't be stolen by their own families. It felt like Martha was there with me, guiding my hand. Like this was what she'd wanted all along, not just protection for me, but protection for everybody. 2 months after Lucas and Sabrina left, I got a letter in the mail. I recognized the handwriting immediately. It was from Lucas. The envelope was thin. Whatever he had to say, he'd kept it brief. I sat in my favorite chair, the one that had been moved but was back where it belonged now, and I opened it slowly. His words weren't angry. That's what surprised me most. They were just sad. Lucas wrote about shame. About how Sabrina had left him 3 weeks after they got back to their apartment. How she'd blamed him for ruining their plan. How his lawyer told him there was nothing he could do about the house. How he'd quit his job and moved back in with his mother for a while because he couldn't face anybody. How he'd been sitting in that apartment alone, thinking about what he'd done, about what he'd almost done to me. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He just wanted me to know that he understood now. That he understood what Martha had been, a woman so wise, so careful, that she'd protected me even from beyond death. He understood that I hadn't done this to hurt him. I'd done it to survive. He wrote about memories. About camping trips and the sound of my laugh. About how he'd wanted to be like me when he was a kid. Strong, capable, a man who could build things. And somewhere along the way, that had changed. Money had changed it. Sabrina had changed it. The desire to have more, to have everything, had swallowed up the man he used to be. He ended the letter by saying he didn't expect me to write back. He understood if I never wanted to talk to him again. He just needed me to know that he was sorry. That somewhere deep inside, he was still the boy who wanted to help people. He was still my son, even if I couldn't see him that way anymore. I read that letter 3 times. The first time, my hands shook so bad I could barely see the words. The second time, I cried. Actually cried. I sat in my chair in this house I'd built, and I let myself feel all of it. The betrayal, the loss, the complicated grief of having a son who'd tried to destroy you. The third time I read it, I understood something. Forgiveness isn't about saying everything is okay. It's about accepting that people fail. That the people we love can hurt us in ways we never expected. That sometimes the people closest to us are strangers in disguise. I didn't write back. I couldn't. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I didn't throw the letter away either. I placed it in Martha's old Bible on the shelf. The one with her handwriting in the margins from decades of reading. That felt like a way of acknowledging it. Of keeping it close without having to pretend things were normal. I threw myself into the foundation work even harder after that. I spent afternoons with lawyers setting up clinics in the community center. Free consultations for elderly people who needed help protecting their assets. Free trusts. Free protection. The kind of thing that might have saved somebody else from living through what I'd lived through. It was Martha's dream made real. And in a way, it healed something inside me that I thought Lucas had broken forever. Spring came. The garden started blooming. Roses first, just like Martha always planted them. Pink ones. Red ones. Yellow ones that reminded me of her laugh. One afternoon, I got a visitor. I wasn't expecting anybody. The doorbell rang, and I almost didn't answer it. But something made me. It was a woman I'd never seen before. Older woman. Maybe in her 50s. She was holding a folder. "Mr. Brenner," she said. Her voice was nervous, like she wasn't sure if she was welcome. "I'm Harold," I said. "Come in." She introduced herself as Patricia. She was a social worker, she explained. She'd heard about the foundation program, about what I was doing, and she wanted to tell me a story. Her mother had passed away 2 years ago. Alzheimer's. Before she got sick, Patricia's brother had convinced her to change the will, to leave everything to him. When Patricia tried to fight it in court, the lawyers told her it was too late. The deed was done. The estate was gone. But then she'd heard about the Brenner Family Foundation through a colleague. About the clinics. About a man named Harold who was helping people protect themselves from exactly what had happened to her mother. She came to tell me thank you. She came to tell me that what I was doing, what Martha had started, it mattered. That there were people out there whose lives had been changed because I decided to turn my pain into purpose. I invited her to sit. We talked for 2 hours. She told me about her mother. I told her about Martha. We talked about the specific kind of loneliness that comes from being betrayed by family. We talked about how some people use love as a weapon, and how protection isn't the same as bitterness. When she left, she hugged me. She just hugged me like I was family. And in that moment, I understood something fundamental. My son had tried to erase me from my own home, but I'd used that pain to create a place of safety for strangers. I'd turned betrayal into purpose. I'd made Martha's dream real. That was worth more than any deed. Months passed. The foundation grew. We helped 40 people that first year alone. 40 families who now had protection they didn't have before. 40 stories where the ending wasn't about losing everything to someone you trusted. Lucas never contacted me again. I didn't expect him to. The wound was too deep. Sometimes when you betray someone that completely, there's no coming back. That's not something they teach you. That love has limits. That family isn't an excuse for everything. But I didn't spend my time hating him. I spent it helping people. I spent it honoring Martha. I spent it understanding that the house on Maple Ridge wasn't really about the structure. It was about dignity. It was about a man deciding that he wouldn't be erased. It's been 3 years now since that Christmas when Lucas and Sabrina tried to steal my home. The sign is still out front. Property of the Brenner Family Foundation. Some people think that's cold. That I should have taken it down by now. Let it be just a house again. But I leave it up because it's the truth. This house isn't mine to keep and hoard and die with. It's a monument to Martha's wisdom. It's a tool for helping people. It's proof that when you're backed into a corner, you can choose to build something instead of destroy. The garden blooms every spring now. I've planted roses and sunflowers and wildflowers that Martha always loved. People walk by and stop to look. The foundation office operates out of the back bedroom, where I help elderly people set up trusts and protect what they've built. On Christmas Eve each year, I sit by the fireplace, the same fireplace where I overheard my son's plan. The lights on the tree flicker just like they always did. And I think about Martha, about how she loved Christmas, about how she protected me even when she couldn't protect herself. I think about Lucas sometimes. I wonder if he thinks about me. I wonder if he ever drives by the house and sees that sign and feels the weight of what he tried to do. I wonder if he's changed. If he's become the man he promised to be when he was a boy and brought home stray animals and shared his lunch. I'll probably never know. And that's okay. Some relationships break in ways that can't be repaired. Some love gets corrupted beyond recognition. And sometimes the best thing you can do is let it go and build something better with what's left. The deed changed hands, not out of revenge, but out of remembrance. Remembrance that even when love fails, self-respect should never be the price of peace. Remembrance that the people who matter most might hurt us the deepest. And remembrance that we get to choose how we respond to that betrayal. We can let it destroy us, or we can let it build us into something stronger. If you've made it this far in my story, I want to thank you. I want you to know that this isn't just about me. It's about every person who's been betrayed by someone they trusted. It's about every person who felt like they were becoming invisible in their own life. Your pain has power. Your story matters. And if you've learned anything from my journey, it's this: protect yourself. Love people, but protect your peace. Know the difference between family and people who happen to share your blood. And never, ever let anyone, no matter who they are, take your backbone. Before you go, I need something from you. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Turn on those notifications so you don't miss the next story that might change your life or help you understand someone you love. Drop a comment below and tell me your thoughts. Tell me where you're from. Tell me if this story hit home for you. Because your voice matters. Your experience matters. And if you know someone else who needs to hear this, about protecting themselves, about not letting family betray them without consequence, share it. Share my story. Because somewhere out there, someone else might be sitting in their house right now, wondering if they should just give up. And maybe your share could remind them that they don't have to.